Now, this video is going to be on the Gothic subculture in general. Now, the Goth subculture was founded on the goth rock music. As such, the music is a huge part of the subculture itself. Basically, if you like goth rock, then you can call yourself a goth. If you don't like goth rock, then you are not a goth. Now, the goth subculture came from punk, and the goth subculture first came around in the late 70s, 80s. Now, there are some, I guess, requirements for being goth, and that's basically liking goth rock music. Now, other common things of goths is the love of gothic art, which can be related to a lot of different things. The oldest stuff being stuff like gargoyles, crosses, onks, pentagrams, pentacles, all that, ooky spooky stuff. And, that sort of stuff's been around for a long time. It's really dark, moody paintings. Victorian stuff is very popular and common. Literature is another thing a lot of goths tend to like. Stuff that's mainly horror. Books like Dracula, and movies like Dracula as well. Those are more popular. Edgar Allan Poe is another really well-known, obviously one. Oscar Wilde, Bram Stoker, Charles Dickens. And of course, like I said before, music. Now, this term, Gothic, was first used in regards to music by bands like Joy Division, Sisters of Mercy, Susie and the Banshees, Bauhaus, The Cure, stuff like that. The older bands, the ones that really started up the goth rock music genre. And, of course, the way they dressed tended to be the way most goths dressed. So that's where the traditional trad goth style of dress came from. Now, of course, if you're a goth, you've definitely seen lots of photos of Robert Smith dressed in his PJs, holding a fuzzy little kitten. That's Robert Smith for you. Now, films and TV is another area where it's mostly horror that goths tend to like. Like, horror. Especially, of course, again, Dracula. And things like the Addams Family as well. Now, as for, the mindset of the average goth, we tend to find beauty in dark, odd, and places that most people will consider creepy, such as graveyards and dead things, like roadkill on the side of the road. Bone jewelry, that stuff is amazing. I would wish I had some, but sadly, I don't. Also, lots of goths tend to have a very high respect for nature and are against harming others. This also goes with us being very accepting people and against hatred. This is also why it's a lot easier to not be the norm when you're around goths. It is a lot easier for a goth person to come out as, say, gay, or bisexual, pansexual, polysexual, asexual, or aromantic, what have you. It's because it's a lot more accepted in the goth subculture. You're not going to get hated on because of it, because we're more accepting. Now, in regards to fashion, fashion is not really a necessity to being goth, but many goths like the fashion, of course. Bless you. But there are, of course, the traditional looks, and then you have the stereotypical ones. Stereotypical ones would be like trip pants and band shirts. Now, there are a lot of goths that really hate the trip pants and think they don't look good on anyone. Personally, I think some people can pull them off, especially males, but you have to have the right body for it. And buy the right size. Though I do believe the ones with 40-some chains on them don't really look all that great. Too many chains. Way too many chains. Now, the types of things that would be more common with just basic traditional gothy stuff would be things like lace, velvet, pleather, spikes, chains, corsets, band shirts, skirts, chokers, and dreadfalls, cyberfalls. The cyberfalls and dreadfalls are especially popular amongst the cybergoth type of goths. But basically, for goths dress in what is most comfortable for them. Also, there are around 28-ish different styles of goth fashion. That's just the fashion, not the music. There's only goth rock. It's just goth rock. Now, a lot of goths are also very creative or arty. Almost all goths are into acting or painting or sewing or writing, etc. Many goths also are very into making / altering their own clothing to give them a more unique, one-of-a-kind sort of look. I'm one of these sorts of people. I love to make my own clothing. I don't make my own jewelry as of yet, but I do make my own skirts, necklaces, shirts. I haven't made my own wigs though. That would be a first. Now, the music, specifically with exact goth rock. All goths listen to it. If you don't listen to it, you're not goth. It's simple as that. And again, there's only one type of real goth music, goth rock. But of course, goths listen to other things as well. Listening to other things doesn't make you any less goth. Mainly because I don't think there is a such thing as a goth who only listens to goth rock. Now, of course, you're going to get those people who take it more seriously and try to validate themselves as a goth by bullying others for listening to music that isn't goth rock. You know, elitists. Now, the other goths don't really like those goths, but that should be obvious. Now, the other music genres that are really, really popular with goths outside of goth rock is anything post-punk, death rock, dark wave, and EBM mostly. And other genres that are also fairly popular would be metal and just straight-up rock. Now, me, I like pretty much every genres. So long as it isn't jazz or country, I usually will find at least one band or one song I like of that genre. But the genres I like the most, obviously, goth rock, death rock, punk, dark wave's pretty good, EBM, horrorcore, rap, but rap I only really like Eminem. Some pop is okay, hip-hop I'm not a huge fan of. Yeah. And also, the whole stereotype that many goths like spooky things, yeah, that's pretty much true. But not all goths like cobwebs and vampires and all that other stuff. Because of course, like anything else, there's gonna be goths who are squeamish of blood. But anyway, individuality is pretty much the #1 thing with goths, outside of loving goth rock. We do things because we want to, not because society says we have to. So yeah, that's basically a summary of the gothic subculture.